Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Box Office Talk. This is the show where I break down what happened at the box office, see if my predictions for the top five are correct, then make predictions for next week's top five. So let's get right on into it. Last week, I predicted that number one would be Reagan, number two would be AfrAId, number three would be Deadpool and Wolverine, number four would be Alien Romulus, and number five would be It Ends With Us. Unfortunately, complete goose egg this weekend. I really missed the mark on here, more so than I thought. I know that I had said I wanted to make up for not predicting, what was it, like The Forge or some other movie that came out and did really well. So I was like, maybe Reagan will be the the one that I wasn't thinking much of before. Maybe that'll get number one and make a lot of money. But I was wrong for literally everything, and everyone else was too. So that kind of helped. I think a lot of us thought that AfrAId would do a little better than it ended up doing, just because of low numbers. And it's a new horror film, and it's about AI, which is always being talked about these days. So we were wrong though. totally wrong on that, but I'm not too hung up about it. Literally worse things could happen, like I don't know, almost fucking getting fucking killed in a car wreck. Maybe you got T-boned or something, or maybe I'm just saying that. Did that happen? Yeah, it did. So I'm chill, you know what I mean? Predictions, least of my problems right now. I'm all jazzed up on this nervous energy. Let's just dive on into it. Number one was once again Deadpool and Wolverine. It came back for its title after beating Alien Romulus, and now it's still number one, making 15 million, adding to a domestic total of 599 million. So close to getting to officially 600 million. It will, but just as far as like these videos go, exactly 600. Sorry, that's stupid. Anyways, it needs 24 million now until it outgrosses the original Avengers, and then it's in the top five for the MCU domestic runs. Worldwide, it is now sitting at $1.257 billion. So it's 42 million over Iron Man 3, and it's now sitting behind Black Panther by 77 million. Right now, it is the seventh highest grossing MCU film worldwide. Just a couple more movies, and it could be in the top five, depending on its momentum right now. Obviously, we have a big release in Beetlejuice next week. As far as how well Deadpool and Wolverine will continue to do after that, probably, well, it's already slowing down just because it's been out over a month, so obviously it's going to slow down. But as far as like, will it like start to drop drastically, or will it still kind of cling on there? We'll see. Either way, it's made its money and it's good. I don't really need to keep talking about this. I kind of saw a tweet that kind of summed up exactly how I was feeling. I think it was Richard Newby, maybe. He was kind of like, after a while, you see enough of like the benchmark, like, congratulating kind of posts or articles, and it's like, I get it. It gets kind of boring. It's like, that's kind of what happens after a while with it. I'm sure you've all noticed it too. It's kind of like, okay, we get it. Like, there's nothing more to add other than it's now doing this, you know what I mean? So let's just move right along to number two, which is at least a little bit more interesting to talk about, Alien Romulus. And after its drop off from week one to week two, it was kind of like, okay, well, is it gonna still like, like it'll make its money, obviously, but is it going to still continue to do really well? And obviously, yeah, we're in the drought week of August, but it's still doing really well, especially compared to the rest of the Alien series, unadjusted for inflation. It made 9 million, adding to a domestic total of 88 million. So for the franchise, it has outgrossed Covenant by 14 million, Alien vs. Predator by 8, and the original Alien by 3 million. It's now sitting behind Prometheus by 38 million. So will it have the momentum to get there? Let's be optimistic and say it will at least get, much closer than it is right now. But that is, that makes it the second highest grossing Alien film domestically of all time. So there you go. And then worldwide, when we jump over there, since it's sitting at 283 million, it has outgrossed Covenant by 45 million. It's now sitting behind Prometheus by 119 million. So once again, second highest Alien film, both domestically and, as we can see here, worldwide. So there you go. This movie is doing a lot better than you may think. Like, you may look at these numbers and be like, I don't know, it's not Prometheus numbers from back in 2012. I don't know. Maybe I think it's just we have a weird way of like looking at success. Even if we have a movie that's budgeted like Alien Romulus at 80 million, we still might see a number like 283 million altogether and think, oh, it's not, it's not blowing up like, some other movie. It's like, I don't know, for considering everything, I think it's doing pretty good, especially, when you list out the fact that unadjusted for inflation, it is the second highest grossing one in the franchise, and it's only behind the other film by just a couple, million, at least domestically. Worldwide, there's a little bit more of a gap there, but domestically at least, it's like, no, that's really good. And yeah, once you do take into consideration the 80 million initial production budget, it has blown through the 240 million tripling point, and if it gets to 320 million soon, it will quadruple that budget. So yeah, they are, it is one of the most profitable films that they have made as far as like recently. Like I'm just thinking of like Alien Covenant pretty much, because Prometheus did well, which is weird because like a lot of people like talk about Prometheus as if it was like this big disaster, like kind of like, failure, you know what I mean? But like, I mean, I enjoy it, you know what I mean? I remember plenty of people who enjoyed it when it came out, and it's the highest grossing film domestically and worldwide, unadjusted for inflation. So it's like, it's kind of weird that, if we can take a look back, it's kind of weird they tried to pivot so much with Alien Covenant to not necessarily continue the Prometheus story. They did, but they tried to, kind of do like a blend of like, it's the continuation of Prometheus, but it's an alien movie again. It was weird. And now we're back to kind of doing like how a lot of franchises are kind of handling the new entry thing of like, just do something completely different. Like we just got like Terminator Zero on Netflix, which is pretty much nothing to do with any of the other films except for Skynet being in it. Prey, which is, completely, far removed from any of the other Predator films. So, it's just the current approach, I guess. Number 3 is It Ends With Us, making 7.42 million, adding to a domestic total of 133 million. So for the year 2024, it is still behind A Quiet Place Day One by 5 million, but soon enough it will enter the top 10 highest grossing domestic runs of this year. Worldwide, it is sitting at, coincidentally, also 283 million. Makes me feel like something went wrong here as far as like the numbers is like database, but maybe it didn't. We'll I don't know, maybe we'll see some other time. As far as the year goes, it is 28 million over Garfield and 22 million over A Quiet Place Day One. It is sitting behind Twisters by 73 million, but right now it is currently the 14th highest grossing film of the year worldwide. So there you go. That's pretty impressive for this movie that has a lot of behind the scenes drama that might ensure that they never make the It Starts With Us movie, but they'll focus on literally every other book that Colleen Hoover's ever written, probably. I have nothing more to add here. Let's move on to number 4, which was Reagan. Yeah, I put too much stock in this one, but to be fair, I put too much stock in a lot of movies, and it'll never stop. It made 7.40 million on a budget of 25 million, so not a bad budget. It's just, number 1, I don't know how many people really knew that this was coming. I feel like if they did maybe a stronger kind of push, maybe you'd have a lot more of like a casual audience being like, oh, it's Reagan and it's Dennis Quaid, and it doesn't help that there's no worldwide numbers to add on yet. So it's just kind of sitting here with this like very underwhelming domestic number. But some people did see it. Some people did. But that leads me to my other thing, considering some of the people involved. I'm kind of thinking of Dennis Quaid, but also John Voight. Like his name is on the poster that I put in the thumbnail of this. It definitely seems like a movie that could potentially be aimed at a specific crowd, considering certain viewpoints, you know what I mean? So I feel like even that has kind of pushed some people away. The people who do know about this movie, maybe that even pushed them away from it even more. So there you go. I don't know. Either way, not looking good for old Reagan. But number 5 is Twisters, which is looking good, despite the fact that this movie's about like the destruction of like a small town because of a weather disaster. It made 7.1 million, adding to a domestic total of 258 million. Worldwide, it is sitting at 356 million. So it still has a long way to go until it gets to that original film of 139 million. But domestically, it already did that. It's still, kicking ass, as we've always been talking about. So, and also, once you take the initial production budget of 155 million, they have crossed over the doubling point of 310 million by 46 million now, and they're just adding on more. Like we've always said, it's the Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes run. Doubled the budget and made a respectable amount more than that, and that's really good. You know what I mean? Like the narrative behind this isn't like what a colossal failure. It's look at this achievement. Like no one has come out to say like Twisters is doing terribly. And I feel like if this really was like some kind of secret flop, we might have heard about it like way sooner. But people are just talking about the movie, how it's entertaining, and talking up our new stars in Daisy Edgar Jones and Glenn Powell and everyone else. So, Yeah, there you go. There you go. Let's move on to number 6, which is Blink Twice. Not really. Yeah, let's just talk about it. It made 4.68 million, adding to a domestic total of 15 million. Worldwide, it's only bumped up to 22 million, so it's 18 million away from doubling that 20 million initial production budget. And we kind of theorized on this a little last weekend. Maybe it doesn't necessarily need to double the 20 million initial production budget to be considered a success. You know, they're at 22 million. I'm not sure what else they would need to like break even in this sense, but it is, you know, Zoe Kravitz's debut. You got a lot of like named people or just people that people know. So maybe they, you know, took a bit of a pay cut to, you know, not ump the budget up so much. And it's not like this movie was like the, you know, biggest marketed film of the year, you know, like it had some trailers out there and some people, you know, did some interviews and stuff like that, but it wasn't everywhere in your face. So maybe it wasn't the initial production budget and like the post / like marketing budget. Maybe it wasn't too much of a factor. I don't know. At the very least, people are seeing this film still. It didn't immediately dip out of here. It is kind of a bummer. If I can mention really quickly, it is kind of a bummer that Strange Darling is not in the top 10. If I can recommend any film you see, if it's playing near you, go see Strange Darling. What a fantastic film. I enjoyed Blink Twice, and I enjoyed Strange Darling a lot. Please watch both films. They're really great. Let's move on to number 7, which is The Forge, making 4.60 million, adding to a domestic total of 14 million. For the Kendrick brothers, it did outgross Facing the Giants by 4 million. Now needs 19 million until it outgrosses Fireproof. So, you know, it's going to be on the lower end of things. It's not having a great holdover like some of these other movies have had before. I think what I was saying last weekend, as far as me saying like, I thought people would be, you know, kind of over this like corny ass marketing, like they're not as like naive to it. And it seems like, you know, initially when talking about it, like, okay, yeah, it's doing what it's doing, but seeing like it's not really holding over well, you know, it's not gonna, you know, have this fantastic run. It's just kind of like, okay, yeah. And obviously it's like 1 million away from tripling its initial production budget of 5 million. So it's a success, but not as much as they have been doing. So I feel like some people are starting to get a little wise to the like, hey, is this a bunch of bullshit actually? Anyways, number 8 is Despicable Me 4, making 4.08 million, adding to a domestic total of 354 million. It is 14 million away from getting to Despicable Me 2, inching closer and closer. Worldwide, it is sitting at 913 million, so that places it 24 million away from Minions: The Rise of Gru. Man, I've been repeating the same stats for a while. It's for literally both, you know, tallies for both runs. It's just inching forward slowly but surely, you know. But, you know, Worldwide continues that tradition of like making a sizable amount of change to, you know, its position in the franchise ranking. So, you know, I don't know how much longer Despicable Me 4 will be in the top 10. It might be here for one more weekend and then maybe it's gone. I don't know if it'll outgross any of these films in that time, but it is still possible that it will do so outside of the top 10. So you know what? Hats off to you. Number 9 is AfrAId. Another one that I put too much stock into. It made 3.7 million this weekend. And I've seen the film and I thought, man, this looks cheap as fuck. Oh, it's Blumhouse. That makes sense. But then I saw the budget. It's like, it's not that cheap. It's an initial production budget of 12 million. So like on the lower end for, you know, any film today, but especially like a studio kind of horror movie. But it's not as cheap as I thought when I saw it, which is a little more alarming, if you ask me. And 3.7 million and a very minuscule worldwide bump of 6 million doesn't really cut it, you know what I mean? For director and writer Chris Weitz, it does have an opening weekend 3 million over A Better Life, but its opening weekend is also 3 million below Operation Finale, 15 million below American Pie, which I think might have been an uncredited director thing for that one, but you know, he worked on it nonetheless. 17 million below Down to Earth, 22 million below Golden Compass, and 139 million below New Moon, obviously. It did outgross A Better Life domestically by 2 million and now needs 14 million until it outgrosses Operation Finale. What a world when it won't even outgross that one. You know, how many people remember Operation Finale? And this like Blumhouse, you know, AI horror film is just like not making any kind of waves, you know what I mean? Man. And then worldwide, like we said, 6 million. So it did make 5 million over A Better Life, but 11 million behind Operation Finale right now as far as the overall run. So sorry, Chris Weitz, maybe next time. You know what I mean? Maybe next time, Mr. Weitz. And finally, closing out the video, Inside Out 2. This might be the last time it's here. I mean, I feel like AfrAId will dip out of here completely, but it might be the last time it's here. Made 2.7 million, adding to a domestic total of 650 million. So it wasn't able to outgross Jurassic World's domestic run while it was here for the all-time domestic runs list, but it is sitting 2 million behind it, so it probably will when it's out of the top 10, and then it will be in the top 10 highest grossing domestic runs ever. Worldwide, it is sitting at, scary number, 1.666 billion. Jesus Christ, the devil is in your movies, kids. That's not serious. And then also there, funny enough, it is 3 million away from outgrossing the number 8 highest grossing worldwide run ever, which is Jurassic World. So it's just right there at Jurassic World for both of them, which is pretty funny, but obviously it will outgross that once it leaves the top 10. So hats off to you, Inside Out 2. You did it. Anyways, now it's time for the fun part, the predictions for next week's top 5. Number 1, I am going to go with Beetlejuice, obviously. People are kind of already saying, like, early tracking, like, 80 million opening, which makes sense, you know what I mean? And also, everything else is had its time. There's no way Beetlejuice, doesn't get to number 1. It's not going to open to like $3 million. You know what I mean? Number 2, once again, might be putting too much stock into this, but maybe it's The Front Room. You know what I mean? It's a new A24 horror film. Just considering how low everything is. I know I've said this before and it doesn't always work out this way, but Brandy's in it. Maybe it'll do well. Number 3, I think, will be Deadpool and Wolverine. Number 4, Alien Romulus. And then number 5, It Ends With Us. But what are your predictions for next week's top 5? Leave them in the comments below. And as always, thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe. I'm Jackson Fulcher. See you guys next time.